Dr. Albert Mohler, who was president of the Southern Baptist Convention, has written some rather odd thoughts on marital relations, namely that a husband must regularly earn privileged access to the marriage bed. Al says that a married man will wake up in the morning driven by ambition and passion in order to make his wife proud, confident, and assured in her devotion to her husband. He says a husband who looks forward to sex with his wife will aim his life toward those things that will bring rightful pride to her heart. Therefore, Al says, when I say that a husband must regularly earn privileged access to the marital bed, I mean that a husband owes his wife the confidence, the affection, and the emotional support that would lead her to freely give herself to her husband in the act of sex. Now, what if a husband is not meeting this emotional need? What should he do? Al says, the emotional aspect of sex cannot be divorced from the physical dimension of sex. Though men are often tempted to forget this, women possess a more or less gentle means of making that need clear. Now, this more or less gentle means of making this emotional need clear is the wake-up call. So Al Mohler is saying that wives reserve the right to deny privileged access to the marital bed if the husband has failed to meet their emotional needs. Al says, quote, consider the fact that a woman has every right to expect that her husband will earn access to the marriage bed. As the Apostle Paul states, the husband and wife no longer own their own bodies, but each now belongs to the other. Al Mohler, of course, is quoting the Apostle Paul in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, but what Al is leaving out from that passage is the husband having to earn access to the marriage bed. In fact, Paul is saying the opposite in 1 Corinthians chapter 7 when he commands, do not deprive each other except for a short time to pray. Now, Al seems to be giving the opposite instruction of what the Apostle Paul here is saying. So Al's summary then, quote, put most bluntly, I believe that God means for a man to be civilized, directed, and stimulated towards marital faithfulness by the fact that his wife will freely give herself to him sexually only when he presents himself as worthy of her attention and desire. Did you catch that, husbands? You must be worthy of your wife's attention and desire. I wonder if Al says this stuff in like pre-marriage counseling. You know, these poor young husbands that come in thinking, boy, I thought getting married gave me the right to have sex with my wife, but I guess not. There's a lot more that goes into that, okay? And I understand that. I know there is an emotional aspect. We all know that. But this is a little more extreme. This is a little more extreme coming from Al. Personally, when I read this from Al, it sounds a lot like wife worship. Like the sole aim of the husband's life should be to bring his wife happiness and contentment. It almost puts her as the mission of his life, which biblically seems like role reversal, because we know from Genesis chapter 1 the woman was created to be the helper to the man. Even in the passage that Al quotes, 1 Corinthians chapter 7, Paul goes on to say in verse 29 that the time is short and those who have wives should live as if they had none. Which I interpret that, this is me personally, I interpret that as meaning that the aim of our lives as men should be growing the kingdom of God, not bringing emotional pride to our wives here. Anyway, that's just me. Well, to my brothers out there, what do you think of Al's philosophy here in regard to the marriage bed? Hit the like button, subscribe, give me a comment. Christ is winning. He is building his church, and the gates of hell will not prevail against it. Until next time, this is the Postmillennial Man.